CRO, conversion rate optimization. It's something we all know about in e-commerce. It's something we also all dread and fear because CRO is one of the biggest levers you can pull to make your business get in the green and at the same time without it go into the red. My name is Arsalan, founder of AKM-Media, and we help scale, grow, and invest in the e-commerce companies that we love. After having spent over 300 million on ads in the last couple of years, we've come to learn one thing. Ads ain't shit if your website performs shit. Who would have thought, right? In this video, I'll be diving into 5 CRO strategies and a little more on why CRO is not exactly what you may be thinking in the first place. Whether you're a seasoned e-commerce business owner or just opened your online store, you're probably already familiar with conversion rate optimization, aka CRO. Like other important business KPIs, CRO can shine a light on the areas where your e-commerce site could use improvement, allowing you to make more strategic decisions about your website structure, sales funnels, marketing strategies, and so on. Now, most marketing campaigns focus on traffic to your e-commerce website, where you'll hopefully be able to convert those website visitors into paying customers. However, finding the right areas to improve can be challenging if conversion rate isn't where you'd like it to be. For instance, at face value, your conversion rate is just a general summary of how many customers visit your store and then complete their purchase. But this information alone isn't nearly enough to tell you whether your marketing messages, website functionality, or other key factors could be to blame. In other words, looking at your conversion rate is not enough to improve your numbers to get your desired results. And instead, you need to take a strategic approach to e-commerce conversion rate optimization that allows you to zero in on the parts of your strategy that just aren't working. In this video, I'll explain the unique approach every e-commerce brand should take when looking at CRO, as well as 5 variables you didn't even realize could be impacting your numbers. I will be covering the points in front of me right now, from why CRO is not what you think to my CRO is bad. Now what do I do? And then also ways on how you can improve this. And then also knowing if your CRO is even working in the first place, and then many variables outside of that. Now, first up, CRO is not what you think. Before we go any further, it's important to keep in mind these CRO strategies are specific to e-commerce stores and platforms such as Shopify, Amazon, rather than just general website conversion rates. That's because the goal of these platforms is to move potential customers through the checkout process and complete a purchase. Unlike brick and mortar retailers, e-commerce brands need to be concerned not only with producing quality traffic for their sites, but with optimizing the speed of their conversion funnel as well. That's because the majority of the site visitors come through paid traffic in these cases. So optimizing these channels is essential to getting the best ROI for the digital marketing efforts. And with that in mind, let's look at your current CRO as an analogy. When you look at your site's overall conversion rates, you're really looking at a forest made up of individual elements. Now, these metrics might give you a holistic view of your performance, but it doesn't help you determine which path you should take moving forward. That's why we encourage e-commerce brands to focus on creating a CRO strategy for each tree in their forest. And these trees represent the channels that you attract your potential customers, like social media from specific platforms. Next, you can break these trees down even further by looking at their associated devices. For example, suppose your desktop conversion rates are strong, but you seem to lose customers who arrive via mobile. Well, in that case, you can develop a strategy to address the potential issue with that. But the analogy doesn't stop there. Once you've established all the trees in your forest, you can start looking at their leaves. The leaves are the intricate details used to create a positive user experience through these channels. With all the information at your fingertips, you can start to then identify where your CRO methods are going wrong, and most importantly, how do you fix them? Next up on the list, my CRO is bad. Now what? What do you do? So let's take our analogy and put it into practice using this step-by-step method. Now, step 1, where are your customers actually coming from? Now, when you start to look at your forest, you can then identify where the traffic is coming from each individual landing page that you use. From there, you break these channels down even further using a platform like Google Analytics. We can show you exactly the number of visitors are coming from which marketing channel. And now, specific to this information, even further, you break it down by the type of device that your customer was using. For instance, you would look at one landing page and then its primary source of traffic, followed by the devices of the online shoppers that they use to access your store. Step 2, how do they compare to the higher traffic pages? Now, there's an image on the screen that will be in front of you right now, which goes a little bit into detail of what we look at. But after following step 1, you should have a clear idea of where the issue is in your conversion rate, where it's coming from. So what do you do with this insight? You begin comparing the weak link to the better performing pages, allowing you to determine which aspects of your page are potentially causing that CRO strategy to struggle. Here's a direct example. Let's say you have a landing page page with a low conversion rate? The first thing you would do is you would start comparing their performance to the various traffic sources so you can determine which channel is causing the issue. For example, you could compare your Facebook traffic against other channels like TikTok or Google Ads until you determine which one has the lowest conversion rate for that specific page. Next, you would compare the devices being used to access that particular page and decide whether your web page's desktop or mobile version is to then blame. Now, in most cases, there are three primary questions that you can ask yourself that will make comparing these aspects of your e-commerce store conversion rates much more effective. Is my site speed performing well? There's an image again on the screen as to how this looks like and what we look at. And to answer this question, you'd need to compare your website speed against other pages that seem to perform well with your target audience. If your site speed is below average, you can easily hire a freelancer, for example, or a web developer to optimize your e-commerce site and eliminate these glitches or things that might be causing that site speed to slow down. Next up, how is my bounce rate? Now again, there's an image on the screen which shows you the key kind of metrics that we look at in this scenario. And another key component to consider is that bounce rate, or AKA the percentage of website visitors leaving your store after viewing one page. Similar to other metrics like shopping cart abandonment, having a high bounce rate basically indicates the problem with the messaging in your creative strategy, ultimately driving your potential customers away from your brand and completing purchase. Now in this case, you might need to reassess your marketing strategy and test other creatives because there might be a disconnect. However, a high bounce rate could also indicate poor website performance, meaning your pages are too slow to load. That's why ensuring that your pages are always well maintained is very important, especially in the world of e-commerce. The last question being, how long is your average session duration? Again, an image on the screen on what we look at and the key components and KPIs. Finally, it's a great idea to look at the average session length of your visitors on the site. If you have a web page that isn't converting and the session length is also fairly short, it could be because your site lacks the kind of engaging content that inspires users to take a desired action on your website. Now, in this scenario, you'd need to go ahead and create a website which is more content centered around a positive user experience, which then in turn also impacts your potential buyers' purchasing decisions. Now we move on to step 3. Where can you improve your conversions? Now, once all of that is done, you should have some very detailed information and data that you can use to start building a strong strategy to boost your conversions and drive your e-commerce sales upward. Now, whether that means optimizing your web page's performance, altering your marketing messages, or creating a better content system, with the ultimate goal being to bring higher quality traffic to your e-commerce store, leading to more and more consistent conversions. And this brings us to the leaves of the forest. Now, after following this formula, you would have identified that X channel might have decreased the average conversion rate by X% compared to all the other landing pages that your store runs. Plus, you'll have assessed whether your site speed, your bounce rate, your session length is the main contributing factor to that. But what if you find all these metrics look fine and yet your page still isn't converting? Now, in this case, there are two other avenues you can look at to help you increase the number of conversions of your page. The first one being average order value. Again, there's an image on the screen which looks at how we identify these KPIs. Now, the reason why we look at the AOV first, or the average order volume, is while this is technically a separate metric in its own right, pages with a higher AOV will naturally have a higher conversion as shoppers are buying larger volume of products during checkout. If you want to learn more about AOV to take advantage of your checkout, we actually did a previous video on this, which you can check out over here. I won't talk about it more. I'll let you guys go ahead and do that. The next question to think about is message mapping. Now, again, the image on the screen looks a little bit further into what we look at. You can think of message mapping as the story that you tell your customers from the moment they scroll across your ad until they complete the checkout process. Not only is message mapping essential to your conversions, but it also creates a better customer experience and builds trust between buyers and your brand. So we highly suggest evaluating your entire creative strategy to ensure that your message mapping aligns with your target. And this is also a good time to run A/B testing on different aspects of your messaging, like your call to actions. Now, this is a bonus tip, but some of you might be in a position where, what if your entire website just has a bad conversion rate? Now, you need to understand that the objective of using this process is to go from looking at your CRO as one blanket number to looking at this as a series of individual puzzle pieces for you to solve, giving you the power to make better actionable decisions based on the insight that you've then gained. That being said, however, there may be some cases in which no particular channel is to blame for your conversion and your entire site seems to suffer anyways. Now, if this sounds like it's the case and you're a business owner watching this right now now losing hope, I highly recommend you contact your host platform like Shopify, etc., and ask them to troubleshoot this issue, because they will, and they will actually help. Because in some cases, it might not necessarily be what you're doing in terms of CRO, it might actually be a technical issue that's outside of your control. And we have seen this on multi-million-dollar stores. So don't be surprised. And now that we've gotten that out the way, let's look at 5 ways on how you can improve your CRO moving forward. Of course, having all of this insight is only useful if you know how to improve these aspects of your CRO in the first place. Now, in our experience, there are usually 5 key areas that you can address to improve the conversions on your webpage. Here are the things you should look at, plus some actionable steps to improve these issues quickly, which is what we love to do. Now, there are a number of things that can slow down the speed of your website, forcing would-be buyers to jump ship before they even had the chance of exploring your offers and your websites and products. Now, the best way to address these problems with your site speed is to enlist the help of a professional web developer on platforms such as Fiverr, Upwork, etc. But it's very important to look at site speed. Message mapping. As we described earlier, message mapping deals with the journey that you take your customers on and through the entire buying process, even going as far as when they actually receive and open your product. If just one part of your message mapping doesn't align with the rest, it could spell some serious trouble for your conversion rate. Think of it this way. If you're using Facebook ad featuring an actress in her mid-60s using your products, you're more than likely to attract traffic from customers in that demographic range because it relates to them. It's what the algorithm will serve to them. However, let's say then that same customer arrives on your landing page and they discover images of all the people in their 20s. This creates inconsistency in your message mapping, and this can cause potential customers to then lose interest in your products. I certainly would if that happened to me. Another example of this would be showcasing positive customer reviews in your ad creative that highlight a particular product feature, but then having your landing page content centered around a completely different feature. In this example, the customer who came to your page because of that one original feature offer is less likely to complete their purchase because, again, there's been a shift in the messaging. And most importantly, message mapping doesn't just end once the customer has hit add to cart. You should be using consistent messaging on your checkout page, packaging materials, and even with your follow-up emails that these customers will then get, building a lasting relationship with them, and again, staying consistent. This even goes down to the offers that you run and the packaging that you have on your products. Generally, your offers and packaging can act as an extension of your message mapping, but with an added bonus of being customized to specific customers. In our view, and in the world of e-commerce, it's an infinite creative universe. Unlike traditional retailers who have very little control of their in-store packaging, e-commerce stores have to take advantage of being able to make custom tailored landing pages for each of their target groups, because that's the benefit that you have versus a traditional business. The last part of this, the usability and friction. Now again, there's an image on the screen which kind of goes into this and what it looks like, but aside from your site speed, you should also make sure that your website offers shoppers a user-friendly experience. Now this doesn't mean your webpage has to be incredibly high-tech, but your goal should be to eliminate as much friction as possible in the buying process. This includes having pages that load quickly, having a seamless layout that is easy for buyers to follow and intuitive, including a good drop-down tab, for example. Another key aspect of having a website's usability is having a reliable customer payment method. If you're a partner with payment processors with things like Stripe or PayPal, it can make it a lot easier for your customers to use credit cards and other data-sensitive payments. Without these payment options, customers are more likely to have abandoned carts because, frankly, they might not just trust you. And then again, leaving you with a higher than average cart abandonment rate, which of course impacts your CRO. The last part of this is your core wireframes. Even if your landing page is just offering one product category, there is a core wireframe that all e-commerce sites should have to ensure for maximum conversions. If you don't already have a checklist for your webpage, go back and make sure that includes all of the following. First up, headline. This should be unique to your product and designed to quickly capture the attention of your target audience. The features and benefits. All of your product descriptions should include clear features and benefits that are easy to scroll through, and this is typically done in like a bullet list form, for example. Product images and use cases. When choosing your product images for your webpage, include a few different ways to use your product, giving your buyer a better scope of its benefits in real time. Risk reversal. If a buyer has doubts about purchasing a product, offers like money back guarantee are a good way to eliminate these perceived risks and again, impact your conversion rate. Social proof, probably the biggest one. This includes anything that adds credibility to your product, like testimonials, reviews, and other user-generated content. Ingredients, if you need to. This only applies to brands such as like the CPG space, food, supplements, skincare, but again, it's important to have. Authority. If your brand has any positive press releases or have been featured in publications, make sure you include that somewhere on your website structure. And lastly, frequently asked questions. Now, this should be designed to help customers during the buying process and address any concerns that they might have about your product. Now, next up on the list is how to know if your conversion rate is good. Now, there's an image on the screen right now which looks at what we look at in these cases, but there are many apps out there to help you analyze your CRO. To be honest, we've tried a lot of them. We recommend Statless, which sets benchmarks based on your AOV versus the CRO of your webpage. Just for a reference, these are some of the current metrics perceived as good conversion rates on Statless across, I think, $5 billion in yearly revenue. Now, AOV about $53, conversion rate 4%. AOV of $81, conversion rate 2.71%. $126, conversion rate 1.69%. AOV of $221, AOV of 1%. AOV of $567 and above, conversion rate average of 0.7%. Now, for some of you guys watching this video and panicking after I just said that, you need to also understand that unfortunately, the only downside to this approach is that the economic market is always changing. And there are times when the current metrics above that I mentioned are not going to be as accurate and may not even be applicable to users' averages. That's why we developed another method for analyzing conversion rates quickly, specifically for paid ad campaigns. And that brings me to how do you arbitrage conversion rates? Now, the image on the screen right now goes a little bit into that structure. Now, this method has been made with Facebook ads specifically in mind, since it operates as a bidding system, giving brands the power to adjust their advertising dollars based on each ad's performance. Now, our arbitrage CR model uses advertiser bid multiplied by the estimated action rates, aka click-through rates, plus an overall relevance to determine the ad's total value. Once you know which ads are the most valuable to your brand and to your campaigns, you can then create peak conversion rates based on these ads. So with that, here are 5 ways to create peak conversion rate periods. Number 1, and probably the most common one, is promotional periods. As I mentioned, one of the most common strategies is just to create promotional periods where there's a limited time offer that attracts higher number of people to go to your store and convert. This might include things like buy one, get one free, free shipping, and other popular incentives. After that, and one of my common favorites, flash sales. Again, example on the screen right here. If you have an email list of existing customers, you can also use a 24-hour flash sale or a pop-up sale with a limited time coupon to convert a larger amount of orders in a shorter period of time. This creates a sense of urgency and can even increase your AOV at the same time if you do it right. Following that is cultural moments. Now, this goes back into another video that we did, the 4 peak theory, which I highly recommend you look at to understand this concept in a little bit more depth. But another key thing to consider is if any cultural moments are relevant to your audience, like Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Christmas, etc. These are windows where e-commerce sales will naturally increase, and an offer is a very good chance for you to then increase your conversion rates even further. Following this is organic traffic collabs. Now, organic traffic isn't inclusive to things like SEO or search engine optimization. You can also drive organic traffic by collaborating with influencers who are relevant to your audience, pushing more people to your store through their audiences. Following this, we have product launches. And again, this goes back into one of our older videos, which I highly recommend you look at. But lastly on this list is new products are a great way to increase conversion amongst buyers who have already purchased from your store. Thankfully, this doesn't mean you have to develop an entirely new product. You can also create limited edition offers or limited edition variations of your current bestsellers, like a new color variation or exclusive product bundle or specific packaging for a specific time of the year. And this brings me to my final thoughts. Now, CRO is essential to running any e-commerce business, yet many brands struggle to identify the problem in their conversion rate strategy. Now, with the methods that I've gone over in this video and the templates that I'll give you guys linked in the description, you can precisely identify where your conversions are falling short, start creating effective strategies for that, and increasing your CRO. Now, if you feel like you need more support in achieving your conversion rate goals, then you can always connect with a team member of ours today, and we'll see in which direction we can help you go. My name is Arsalan from AKM. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to let me know down below in the comments. If you have any questions, let me know just the same, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.